Well, I didn't think I'd be here so early, but Australia have been in a hurry. They've wrapped it up by 209 runs. They are the deserving World Test Champions of 2023. A classy performance, a dominating performance with the bat, with the ball in the field, everything. A complete performance and one worthy of them being the World Test Champions. But let's take you back to day 4 first, because day 4 is the day where they laid their foundations for their eventual victory. The first session, the pre-lunch session, I thought India were outstanding with the bowl. Umesh bowled very well, Siraj bowled very well. They got Labuschagne out early, who was the key for Australia. They got Green, in a bit of a tangle. He couldn't get a lot of runs, played at a very low strike rate. And 167 for 6, Australia were tottering. They could have gone from there off the cliff into 200 all out, and then one man stood up, Alex Carey. I think Alex Carey has been the unsung hero of this test match. In the first innings and the second innings, he's contributed really valuably. The first innings without Carey, Australia would have been 400 all out easily. The second innings here, they would have been 200 all out easily, but he stood up an unbeaten 66 in the second innings, a great 40 in the first innings as well. And I think he's been worth a solid 130, 140 runs in this test match. A great performance by Carey. Stark as well, it's not every day you see Mitchell Stark come up with the bat and perform. I think in this test, he may just have done better with the bat because he was, spraying it around with the ball a lot. But still a really valuable 41 at a healthy strike rate. Partnered Carey, made sure they got to a solid 250, 260 total, and then Australia declared a 270, set India the highest target, which had never been chased in the history of Test cricket. So let's talk about how India approached that as well, though. Because when you're chasing 444, it's not an easy decision. Do you just go and bat straight for the draw? Do you try to bat 130 overs? Or do you actually try to chase it when no team in the last 146 years has ever chased such a total? And India went for it. They came out in the last session on day 4. They came out aggressively. They came out attacking. Rohit Sharma hitting the ball everywhere. Shubman Gill. And I think that was the right way to go, because after 15 overs, you could see the pressure on Australia. You could see the shoulders just shifting a little bit because they could sense, is the momentum turning? India's 88 for 1 at a really good run rate. Could they do something special here? And that, in this point of view, in this scenario, is when that catch of Shubman Gill was taken by Cam Green. Now, before we get into whether it was a legal catch or not, I think we should first applaud Cam Green for his athleticism, because what a catch. We could not have seen such a catch 40 years ago, 30 years ago, maybe not even 15 years ago. But the way these players now train, the fitness levels we see, that's what enabled Cam Green to go for that catch and take it and get it out. But was that a legal catch or not? I think it's really close. But I think it was not out. And the reason for that is the law states you have to be in control of the ball before it hits the ground. So there's two things here. One is it can't hit the ground, which means it can clip the blades of grass. That's fine. As long as it doesn't hit the solid ground, it's fine, it's a catch. So the debate that the third umpire, Richard Kettlebrough, was actually seeing was, did it hit the ground or not whether it clipped the blades of grass, which it did without a doubt. The second thing is you have to be in control of the ball, which is generally taken to mean you should have 2 fingers underneath the ball, because if you have 2 fingers under the ball, it can't physically hit the ground. But if you look at the picture of Cam Green's catch, his fingers were very wide. They were near the side of the ball. So it's quite possible that the ball could have hit the ground from this side, and I think it may just have shaved the ground. The other thing is the pictures you're seeing on your screen right now, these were also taken by photographers, after during the match. They were later developed and refined and edited after the match. The third umpire doesn't have access to such HD pictures in the moment of the game. If you look at the footage that was actually available to the umpire at that time, from those angles it was pretty ambiguous as well. But even I think from the information third umpire had at that time, I was probably leaning towards out as well, because you can just see, it seems that he's got the ball under control. It seems that he has some sort of flesh between the ball and the ground. But either ways, a pretty close moment. I don't think it would have made any difference to the ultimate result. I don't think Shubman Gill, in all likelihood, would have gone on to make those extra 209 runs India needed for a victory. But still quite an interesting moment. But let's talk a little bit about India's intent here. This is not old India. This is not a meek India, they see a target of 440, they're like, we're going to defend it. No, they were bold, they went for it. And I think this is a really good thing for Test cricket. It was really great to see a team, having the spirit to do it. and Rohit Sharma came out all guns blazing, Shubman Gill with him. Cheteshwar Pujara also came out a little bit guns blazing, but a little bit too much, because Cheteshwar Pujara playing a ramp, you see him fine playing a cut shot, fine playing a ramp. How does Pujara play a ramp? That's like, Pujara is supposed to be a straight 8-star math student, the nice kid in the class. When does a kid like that play a ramp? It was a really shocking sight, and ultimately it didn't work out for Cheteshwar at all, and India dug themselves deeper into a hole. Rahane Kohli got a good partnership. At the end of day 4, 164 for 3, there was a fair bit of optimism in the air, because it's not impossible, but the fact of the matter is 444 is just such a large magnitude of runs. Something was bound to happen. They wouldn't have been able to chase it, and that something happened in the first session today when Kohli got out, Jadeja followed, Rahane followed, and it was just a procession really. Let's talk a bit about day 5 now. India got off, first couple of overs just surviving. Scott Boland came on. Scott Boland, what a baller, what a metronome. He was the replacement of Josh Hazelwood in this game. And I think that's exactly what he did, because Hazelwood, he's a metronome, keeps pitching it same line, same length all day long. That's exactly what Boland does as well. The perfect line and length, no loose balls on offer at all, and ultimately India simply caved into the pressure. A little wide, a little full one to Kohli. He went for it, and a beautiful, a spectacular catch by Steve Smith with no controversy this time around meant that Kohli had to go back to the pavilion. And after that, really, it was a procession. I don't think India could have done anything more. A little bit, let's talk about India first, how they performed in this game, what were their strengths and weaknesses. Strengths, only one that I can see, that is Ajinkya Rahane. What a player. 89 in the first innings, 31. I mean, given the scenario, not too bad of an innings in the second innings as well. But really, to think that he is the only player in the Indian 11 who doesn't have a central contract. To think that he is the player in the Indian 11 who wasn't supposed to be playing this game. He came in because Pant got injured, Bumrah got injured, Ishant got injured, Ishant wasn't picked, and then Rahane comes in. Well, I mean, to put in a performance like that is a massive statement, and I think he's staked a claim in this Indian side for quite a few matches to come. KS Bharat, let's talk a bit about him. I think he, with the keeping side of things, I think was pretty good. Took a few great catches, saved a fair bit of bias. But the batting looked completely out of sorts, especially in the second innings, couldn't get going at all. That Cummins bouncer which hit him flush on the helmet. Even the other pacers, he looked completely unsettled. And I think India are really missing Rishabh Pant here, because Pant, Bharat, I mean, it's really not a comparison. Unfortunately, Pant is a world-class player, and I am hoping he recovers as soon as is humanly possible. The bowling attack, I think, Shami had a good second innings. Siraj had a decent match overall, not the best of games. But they are missing Bumrah without a doubt. He is the spearhead. He is the leader of the Indian attack in all three formats. And without him, this pace attack is certainly looking a lot more tame. Spin attack, I think Jadeja bowled a decent amount. Ashwin, yes, I think the debate should be pretty clear now. The wicket did not spin much on day 4, day 5. I don't think Ashwin would have, made a big change to the result. I think it was the correct call to not pick him. But on the whole, my word, with the bat and ball in every single innings, India were arguably outclassed by Australia. And let's take a look at how did Australia do that. Where does the strength of this Australian side actually lie? And in my opinion, it lies in the middle order. Because if you have a number 3, 4, 5 of Labuschagne, Smith, Head, with CAREY and Cummins, etc. to come, Cam Green as well, then my word, you do not want to be bowling to that middle order any day of the week. We talked about CAREY being a strength for Australia and the batting. I think the openers were probably the weakness, because the openers got out early in both the innings. Warner had a good first innings, but couldn't convert his start. I think if you had to nitpick and find an area of concern in the Australian team, it would be the openers, because the pace attack is phenomenal. Spinner Nathan Lyon, been pretty good, gotten 480 plus wickets now, a 4 in the second innings. But I think the openers, is the only area I'd be looking a little bit at before the Ashes. Let's see, where do these two teams go from here? So firstly, Australia, the question answers itself. The Ashes coming up just now. We're going to have 2 months of the Cricketing Hour, full coverage of the Ashes. And in those, Australia is going to be really tested against a spirited English side, against, this Bazball phenomenon, the Stokes-McCullum era of English cricket. and I think it's going to be pretty exciting to watch. Australia, I think they do have maybe the slightly stronger batting, but the bowling is where I really think Australia have their main advantage over their English counterparts. So I'm backing Australia, maybe 2-1 to Australia, but let's see how the series goes. As for India, their players finally, after a hectic IPL, after the WTC championship, they have a 1 month break, and I think nothing could be better for the Indian players because too much matches, there can't be too much good of anything. So it's good they'll get some rest, some time off, some time to spend their families, some time to recover, some time to go into the analytic details of where and how they can improve their respective techniques. And then they've got the Asia Cup coming up, they've got other bilateral series coming up. The other thing I want to talk to you guys about though is India's ICC trophy drought. If anyone asks you who has been the best team of cricket in the last 10 years, you put your hands up and you say India. If someone asks you how many ICC trophies have they won, you have to say 0 out of 9. This is unacceptable. It doesn't make sense. Nearly every single one of the 9 tournaments, they've reached the semi-final or the final. They've even got to the final of the 2 WTC championships. They've lost both of them. And most of the knockout games they've lost, they have lost them by heavy margins. So it's not like, little moments going away from them. This match, you can maybe say that they had, Pant and Bumrah missing, but still I don't think a 209 thumping would have been escaped, by the addition of just 2 players. So I think it's definitely, I really don't know what to say. Is this symptomatic of something in the Indian players? Do they not perform well under pressure? I think a bit of it also has to be attributed to bad luck. Sometimes the other team is just too good. Australia in the first innings was just too good. But sometimes it's also a matter of losing the key moments. And in this WTC final, India lost the key moments on day 1. Because on this pitch, I'm sorry, yes, it was a relatively flat pitch, but 327 for 3 on day 1 Australia is where India bottled the game. You can't have the other teams going 300 for 3 on this pitch. You can't have 2 batsmen going 170 and 120 and the other players contributing as well on this pitch. 469 was too big a total, and after that India was simply playing catch up for the rest of this test match. So that's all from our coverage of this exciting WTC final that promised a lot, was really interesting, had some great moments, but ultimately Australia managed to take home the maize. Travis Head is the man of the match, deservingly so. I think the only other contender was Smith, and Head deserved to get it over him. But I think Australia are looking really ominous now. India, they've got a while back, nurse their wounds, come back stronger, and we've got a lot more cricket to come in the days and months to come. That's all from the Cricketing Hour. Allah Hafiz.